Well, hopefully the airlines are able to. They don't. We've done a fair amount of travel. But there's one that they were open.
Good morning, Dave. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Thanks.
Here's our flag.
We're there. It's like 7 o'clock. I don't know, 7, 8:30. Chicago back here. No, we moved back tomorrow, so.
Oh.
See you in the morning.
Oh.
So we get there, so it's 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
She flew. Hey, this was last summer.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
Different.
She left yesterday morning. Yeah. So we had to go to 10. Last night, work.
There's a specifically one I can think of for Jamaica that I think I've had about 14 sessions. And yeah. So, and you know, we started them out in Detroit, it was direct, then they were on a layover. So
Good morning, Mark. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning.
And then that changed, and now they've got like 6 hours. Worse for this.
And it's on event.
But then I'm
One, it turned into 5
instead of LA.
Yeah.
five.
Yeah, that's not. as
And I'm
fun
like,
there.
But I can always drive.
Yeah.
right, and it's just, and I call about it, and it's just auto.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, well, a person hasn't touched this yet to fix it, and I'm like, I just gotta fix it now.
Power, turn the power on.
Last night, finally.
Just last night.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
like, I can't
I guess my problem is I try to reach many of them.
What your wife do it after months?
She
That
is a scribe for the doctors.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I didn't know what a scribe was until she became one. Basically stands there with the doctors and takes notes for them, codes things and goes through.
She work with a specific one or?
They
Is she ice
they
scribe?
swap around a lot.
She ice scribe or e-scribe? Do you know what company she works for? Or is she employed directly by
She's
Cal?
employed by.
Okay. Because I have a friend that runs the ice scribes
Really?
for the area.
No, that wasn't the.
Yep, there's 2 agencies that compete in that area for scribes.
Interesting.
All right.
Yeah. So if she ever wants to move on and branch out.
I mean, she started out as a tech, right? So she was like working with patients and stuff, and then being paid to graduate to other.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I heard the word scribe, I'm like, ooh, does she work for my friend?
Go back Saturday.
Oh, we're not gonna have
Asia or?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a dragon.
Okay.
Right, it's not there.
Chicago, okay.
I think we can discuss that.
Yeah.
You know what, it's because of the,
Yeah.
because of the order.
Yeah, right.
Right, because is that still in effect where virtual meetings are approved by
Yes.
the government?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's still in effect.
All these new things.
Yes. Under normal operations, we have to have 4, and then you still have 4 people on there.
Yeah.
Morning, Cecile. Can you hear us?
I can, hello.
Greg, good morning. Can you hear us? All right.
Morning.
Hi, Amanda. I see you on there too.
Send these out by email.
Good morning.
Oh, for your second agenda.
Yeah. So. This is what I
Did-
sent to you guys
Nikki?
yesterday.
Yeah.
Did you have trouble getting through Atlanta's
I didn't go
So
through it.
where you flying out?
I had clients that were supposed to go through Charlotte and it was closed. So customs was already closed in Charlotte, so they had to go through Miami to clear the plane, get back on the plane and then go to Charlotte.
It's wherever there's demand, right? Yeah. Yeah, right.
Let me know when you're ready to start.
Let me know when you're ready.
Okay, we'll call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Kurt Artemon,
Here.
Dave Busker,
Here.
Gilbert Calver, Greg Hamley,
Here.
Yeah, where they are.
They're all local. We just said that.
Nikki Miller,
Here.
Cecile Much,
Here.
Eric Rankin,
Here.
Mark Weiss,
Here.
James Woodruff.
There. Okay, are there any additions to the agenda?
Mr. Woodruff, I would like to do two things on the agenda. One is I had to have an addition that I'd like to place in the non-consent agenda items for discussion. Also, I'd like to remove the rates and charges resolution. That was supposed to be at the November meeting, but I had accidentally put it on here. So there's no backing information for the board to consider.
Next item is approval of the board meetings from August 12th. Additions or corrections from anybody? Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move approval.
Support?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call.
Roll call. Next to be roll call.
Roll call. To approve the minutes? What's being recorded?
Kurt Artemon,
Yes.
Dave Busker,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes.
Nikki Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Much,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
Mark Weiss,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes. Oh, public comment. This is the time when any member of the public can address the board on non-agenda items. Anyone wishing to address the board on non-agenda items, please come to the podium, give their name and address, and limit their remarks to 4 minutes. If anyone would like to speak about an item that was on the consent agenda item, they could ask that it be removed from the consent agenda at this time. Hearing none, we move on. Financial reports.
Well, you're not going to get as eloquent a financial report from me as you would from Amanda. But the financial report is in the board packet. We're 58% of the through the year to date, and you can see that our total operating expenses are at 53%. So they're a little below expenditures, at least budgeted pace. And then our percent for the revenues is above. So those are always metrics you want to be above in revenues and below in expenses. There's nothing abnormally unusual in any of these. If you remember, we budgeted conservatively in 2020 for 2021 based on activity levels being at 40% of normal. And we've had a strong summer that has brought our activity levels for the year to closer to about 50%. A little bit ahead of pace there. That's not to say that many months certainly, given the return of some of the pandemic concerns. Right now, we're looking at shape.
Quick question, Craig.
Yes.
Is any of these numbers affected using CARES money? Is there any adjustments to these numbers, both on the revenue side and?
At this point, nothing has been adjusted for CARES. There will be an end of year adjustment. You'll probably see it November board meeting.
Okay, so we anticipate then a one-time end of the year adjustment using the CARES money. And currently then we're at 62% with the revenue when we should be operating, or particular when we should be at 58% year to date. So even without CARES money, our revenue is still higher than anticipated budget, correct?
Anticipated budget, yes, but we'll still be drawing or anticipate a draw from our CARES funds for this to make the what we call the normal shortfall.
Okay.
And
Okay.
Amanda's on. If she has anything that could make that sound more eloquent, then I'm willing to allow her to say it.
Well, there's no eloquence to the way I worded my question, but I think I get where we stand. I'd say those are very good numbers then, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Great job, Craig.
That number, Mark, if you see that operating income is around 1.8 million, and that's where that would be our CARES draw, if you will.
Oh, the 20, okay, got it.
Are there any other comments? Can I have a motion for support?
Support.
Oh, no, sorry.
We don't.
Okay. We don't need to have a roll call on financials.
Okay.
So we will accept the financial report and move on to consideration of rental car concession.
Actually, we'll just the nonsense.
Airport rescue and firefighting contracted services.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. See you all. Have a few items today. First being approval of the new contract or agreement with Protect Fire Services for contracted park services at the airport. As you know, as a requirement of 139, we need to ensure park availability at the airport. We've traditionally done that by means of hiring a contracted firm. The current contract will reach the end of its term on December 31st of this year, 2021, with no remaining options to extend. So after evaluation and consideration from staff, we determined that contracting our services still is the most favorable option for us to proceed with. So we published a request for proposals in August, soliciting responses from firms. We had two submittals, one of which was non-responsive, the other being Protect Fire Services. So staff recommends the board enter to a new agreement with Protect. Costs of the contract in 2022 would be it will increase annually for the life of the primary contract term at a rate of 3%. That adjusted, or that number right now is currently 270, so it was a little bit of an increase, but we hadn't increased any contract. There was a slight increase or adjustment to the latest extension cost, but it's around what it should be. There was some increase in insurance requirements with the new bid as well, which caused the price to go up a little bit for us. Just Another comment, ProTech's been with us for 35 years. I went back and looked. Been around for a long time. They have an outstanding record satisfying FAA requirements. Just yesterday, we got a closeout letter from our FAA certification inspector with no findings on paperwork or anything like that. And ProTech is a big player and contributor to that. So they've been a good firm for a long time. Continue to be professional and help us where we need to. So.
Eric, the other submittal, so somebody responded, but then decided not to actually do a full.
They did not meet the qualifications of the bid.
Okay, all right. I assume it's a pretty small pool of contractors. It's very small.
Yep, that's right. Yeah.
I know 3.
Okay.
Eric, can you say the name of the company that was non-responsive, or is that?
Yeah. So it was Rural Metro Fire Services.
Okay, I apologize. Can you repeat that, please?
Yeah, Rural Metro.
River, okay.
Rural Metro.
I don't know why.
Rural Metro. Okay. Country City then, Rural Metro, got it.
And ProTech is based where?
Wisconsin.
Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, okay. And they've been with us for how long did you say?
35 years.
35 years, okay. Pretty substantial relationship.
Yes.
To say the least, right? Yeah.
Any other comments or questions?
I move approval.
Support? Roll call vote.
Bert Artemal,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes.
Nikki Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Munch,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
Mark Weiss,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes. Runway extension.
Yes, this next item is a reimbursable agreement with the FAA for preliminary design and engineering work for the ILS modeling associated with the runway 1735 extension project. This may sound a little bit familiar. We actually had a previous reimbursable agreement with the FAA for this exact item. However, the term of that original agreement expired due to some delays with the extension project having to do with the environmental assessment. The FAA review periods was another major factor, and then certainly COVID played a role in that as well. So that original agreement expired in May of this year. So this agreement will be for another 5 years, and will be for the prelim design and engineering of the ILS. So any questions on that?
Is this something that's separate from the amendment we did, the third amendment we did in May?
That was the agreement with Mead and Hunt,
Right.
To do some of the work associated with the ILS, but it's the same ILS system project that's
Right.
being worked on. Yeah,
And the FAA is doing this one.
that's right. So it's reimbursable. So the FAA has a scope of work on theirs, and that needs to be done associated with the ILS. So some engineering work, a lot of review work.
Yeah, because there was some language in that one we did earlier that said the FAA does engineering
Right.
services, no longer does that type of work, except that's in the initial scope.
It was in the initial scope for or we thought it was in the initial scope. The change, the amount of this agreement hasn't changed essentially at all from the original scope. It's less what they were able to review, which I think was amounted to like $6,000 worth of review that they did originally.
So they're gonna do one, and Spot Hybrid Consulting's gonna do another, so whatever.
The ILS, there's separate portions of the same project, right? Yeah.
Any other questions? Eric, is there a time frame on this agreement?
5 years.
We should be able to make that.
We should have preliminary design completed within that. I would hope, yes.
Can I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Support,
I'll support.
roll call.
Kurt Artemis,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Greg Hamlink,
Yes.
Nikki Miller. Yes. Cecile Munch,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
Mark Weiss. Mark Weiss,
Yes, yes, yes.
Gotcha.
James Woodruff.
Yes.
Eric, can you remind me the timeline for when the goal is to maybe start construction on the extension project? What kind of the general, I know it's kind of a moving target right now.
Sure. Well, it mostly hinges on the environmental assessment, which is being done right now,
Right.
which is scheduled to be completed about May of next year. Once that happens, we'll be able to move into some property acquisition, some zoning, tree removal, stuff like that. That'll take at least 1 or 2 construction summers. We're thinking, and then there's the railroad relocation, which will be an entire construction season. Everything has to be moved, relocated before we break ground on the extension project. So I'd say 25 at this point, we're looking for actual construction.
And the property acquisition, is that and I assume there's a formal government process that's followed with that?
That's, yeah,
Yeah, okay.
depending
Not
on if it's like,
speculative,
right, no,
people are getting excited, waiting for a sale to happen.
no,
Okay,
no,
good.
no.
It's actually already underway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great, thank you.
The next item is entrance road reconstruction, design services to take care of the washboard. It's either that or we'll plant flowers.
Sure, yeah, that sounds good too. Yeah, so this is an agreement with RSNH under the CARES Development Project Master Service Agreement that was approved in July. This is the second project that we're pursuing associated with the CARES projects. Hopefully, or where our goal is to have this completed, the scope of work done next construction year, kind of in tandem with the ARF modernization rehab project. So the scope of the project will obviously be to reconstruct the road. It's time to reconstruct. It's past its useful life beyond rehabilitation. So we'll have to do a fair amount of work getting down to depth and putting down some new base. And we'll look to also improve the passenger amenities out front, possibly with some additional safety features, like speed bumps that aren't aftermarket installed like the ones we have right now, and possibly some lighted sidewalks. They'll also take into consideration, and I should have had this graphic ready, but the ring road that you take to when you exit the long-term and short-term lot. They'll look at making that a two-way road. They're going to kind of take everything into consideration out front. So this agreement is specifically for environmental services, design, and bidding services for that project. So similar to the ARF modernization rehab project, they'll have everything approved by the FAA, scoped out, construction documents written, ready to go and bid. And then once we know the actual cost of that project, we'll bring it back for board approval on that contract.
And I think I've asked this once before, remind me, it's concrete now, is the proposed new surface, has it been determined, is it gonna be concrete again, or?
I believe it was we had one engineering quote submitted to us. I believe it was for concrete again. And I think that was at like 1.7 million. That estimate was.
Okay.
So we'll consider both options again. If we're able to, we'll take everything into consideration, right? So if we're able to do more, asphalt with asphalt replacement versus concrete, that'd be something to look at.
I don't know why it was concrete originally. Concrete lasts longer, typically harder to repair when there are issues. But
Yeah, we had looked at, I had asked about doing an overlay, but the problem is we're at reconstruction versus rehab. And so the nice thing is, even if we did concrete, we could do an asphalt overlay 10 years down the road later.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Hey, Eric, just a question. So this is a inside the fence, outside the fence type question. So this is obviously outside the fence, but it still has to meet FAA design criteria, which is obviously driving the cost.
That's a good question. So it'll meet probably like MDOT specification code because it is outside of the fence. However, it still needs to be reviewed and approved by the FAA because it's being used with federal dollars. It's still CARES money that we're using to accomplish it. So
That the FAA doesn't have standards for airport entrance roads. So you comply with your, whatever.
State
standard
highway.
State highway
Yeah.
usually.
Okay.
But because it's federal money, there are some, there's guidance that we have to follow.
Right.
So,
And again, this is purely just entrance road. So this is coming in by the sign of the light off Portage Road to the terminal. Is that where it would end? Because we do have,
up to and past the terminal building,
Okay.
about to, like our property line actually stops right at the curb or turn by the Stryker building.
yeah,
So once
okay,
it straightens back out again, that's City of Kalamazoo roadway.
okay.
So we can go right up to that line if we can. And like I said, that the road behind the parking booth, and everything within that scope, basically.
It would be nice to, I realize this is entrance and obviously a little bit of exit going past the terminal building, but yeah, as you go down Airview Boulevard, it'd be nice if City of Kalamazoo could work on the landscaping down there as you exit on Airview.
Yeah, we've got a few ideas. We're trying to track down the right people for that, but we know exactly the location you're talking about. So,
Okay, thank you.
no problem.
Anybody else, Barry? Can I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Or
I'll support.
roll call, roll call.
Kurt Arkema,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes,
Vicky Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Much,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
Mark Weiss,
Yes,
James Woodruff.
Yes. The last item on the non-consent agenda is a hangar door replacement.
Yes, this is an agreement with Tower Pinkster to provide engineering, surveying, schematic design, and consulting services to replace an inoperable door at the Duncan facility. So under the provisions of the on-call master service agreement with Tower Pinkster, they will help us repair a very large hangar door that's currently inoperable down at Duncan. Duncan is able to operate out The other side of the hangar, there's two doors, one front, one back. But the more traveled door is currently totally inoperable. It's been deemed non-repairable by a couple contractors that have come out to look at it. So Tower Pinkster is going to help us determine the best option for us to proceed and replace that door with. There's some new different styles of doors that are out there right now that we want to look into, which will have some impacts on the footings of the building. It will need probably its own structural support, the replacement door. So this will be engineering services and design services for those, for that door. And then we'll likely take that to bid as well with Tower Pinkster following this.
Question?
So it's not something that there's a door company can do their own design. We have to have an outside firm do.
Most door manufacturers recommend that you hire outside, like engineering services. Yeah.
Not a typical warehouse door.
No, this is
Right.
this is the big hangar door.
Yeah.
The dimensions, but it's quite large. Not the biggest thing.
And that door has been a sore spot for, I mean, the past almost 10 years I've been there. It's broken on a regular basis, a couple times a year. And it's actually, honestly, in my opinion, a little bit dangerous. The setup it has utilizes cables. And when the cables break, they go whipping through there. Unfortunately, they haven't hit any personnel or aircraft or equipment to damage it, but it's long overdue.
Are the other doors the same design?
So right now, I mean, this building, I'm not sure exactly how old it is. It's maybe 70s, 80s. It was built. The door operates on a cable and counterweight system, which are discontinued. Most large doors like that are hydraulically driven now, that and are supported by, you know, they have their own structural support systems. So it's kind of why it needs to be re-engineered, because the building wasn't meant for the type of door that will be installed on it.
I just wondered too, if there's another door in the facility similar, but shouldn't, we consider doing all of the doors that are similar, or is this one unique enough that it needs to be done independently of the others and it's not related to the others?
I think that adding any more doors to this scope is, it would be financially tough for us to do. I think we're looking at maybe $100,000 for total for the door replacement.
Okay.
So we'll look at options and we'll it's the capital, the other side of the hangar door has been added to the capital inventory, and we'll look to do something with it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm just hearing Greg's comments.
Yeah.
Thinking.
And I could add a little context to that as well. So yeah, the two doors in hangar 2 are very similar, but that south side door has always been the primary door. So that gets the most use, which is why it typically breaks. But that other door on the north side, which is currently being used, is the same design. The doors flex a lot. They're not, it's not a heavy structure, but a pretty good sized door. So I think that doesn't help it. There is a door that's similar to that, but much heavier construction in hangar 1 where our aircraft are located. And we only use that just to open it up just for a little bit of outdoor light and maybe a little breeze on occasion. But our aircraft aren't able to fit through that door. We've got to go out the south side door, which is a rolling door versus a lifting door with cables and counterweights. So there's three doors at the Duncan facility. Actually, I take that back. Hangar 3 has a similar type door as well. So there's technically 4 doors at the Duncan facility out of 5 that are of that design, Kurt, to your point.
Okay, yeah, thanks.
That fourth door is a little bit smaller than the hangar 2 doors, right, Greg.
That is correct. That's the smallest of the three, but they're all kind of similar in design. So,
That one's more like T-hanger size.
yep.
Does the scope of this agreement include looking at the other hangar doors?
It includes not the other building doors, no. It'll be whatever we end up doing with the other side of this hangar will look very similar to what the scope of services look for this side, obviously, right? Because it's the same size, same building, same door operation. It does not consider the smaller hangar door just adjacent to it, so.
So I just, to Jim's point, I wonder if the design piece, if it makes sense to have them look at all of them. I mean, I know it's not
Yeah.
feasible to do the replacement of all of them, but maybe the design of all of them could be done.
It's certainly a good thought, and we can speak to Sour Pinkster about it. And if they can fit it within this scope of services, this is a not to exceed agreement.
Right.
So this is just kind of their estimate to complete what they have in front of them. If they can amend the contract if it goes above and beyond, if we add some services to it. That's something we can talk to them about.
Sounds like it would make sense. I mean, we've got tenants in there that need use of these doors, and now we're kind of retroactively going back to fix the issue, but it'd be nice to not be in a position where we're having to fix it for the next one. If we know it's a similar design and it's eventually probably going to have the same issue.
Right. Yep. Totally agree.
So Eric, any expansion of the agreement would probably be an additional cost to come back to us with that.
That's right. Yep. Any.
So can I have a motion for what you're looking at right now?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Kurt Ardema,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
Yes.
Vicki Miller. Yes. Cecile Much,
Yes.
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
Mark Weiss,
Yes.
James Woodruff.
Yes.
Thank you.
The addition, one additional add.
And the addition is,
Temporary parking of vehicles in airport parking lot. And we were asked a few months ago by a company if they could store vehicles in the airport parking lot, in the empty portions of the airport parking lot. They again reached out to us. At that time, the conversation happened with Amanda, and then it stopped. And so they reached out to us again yesterday and said they'd like to have discussions and move forward with it to use the parking lot again for the storage of vans. This is a company that's working for Amazon. These are those Amazon Prime vans that you're seeing around everywhere now. They're ubiquitous. And what they do is they come off the line and they're looking for a place to store them, and then before they distribute them, just kind of like you're driving down, south of Elkhart County in Indiana, there's tons of RVs, that kind of thing, or specifically to my prior experiences at different airports with GM storing in the public parking lot at Flint Airport or in Fort Wayne on the former air cargo ramp. So this is a similar arrangement. We're looking to get a license agreement to allow them to store these vans on a temporary basis in the empty portion of the parking lot. We're looking, it's about 2.6 acres. You're thinking of it's that very back corner by the Hampton Inn, which is all, it's empty right now. And we would have it sectioned off. It's already sectioned off. But the airport would receive about $3,500 a month with the ability to end the agreement with a 30-day out on either party. So there's no long-term commitment on either end. That $3,500 a month comes out to roughly $1,300 an acre, give or take a few dollars there. which is about the rate that other airports charge for the same thing. So looking for the board to give approval for the airport director and I wrote airport director, but also the board chair to sign a license agreement with the group. It's called Eminent Auto Group for the temporary parking and storage of these passenger vans. We're not providing any services to them. Basically, there's an entrance down off of Airview Boulevard that easy chain. They'll have a key. They can just come in and drop them off or anything like that.
Are they doing snow removal? We don't.
They'll be responsible for any snow. Yeah, this doesn't include any services or anything.
Craig,
Yes,
when you
sir.
talk about cordoning it off, will there be any of their signs up displaying Eminent Auto Group or other than any?
There are no signs because they're really just the back end. From our perspective, it's just a piece of paper. They're not selling these vans. They're not doing anything. Basically, they're ready to go, but they're not ready to be received. So they're just kind of bringing them in and out. I'll give you an example up at Flint Bishop Airport. They're rolling off the assembly line of the GM truck plant, which is right there. And they're bringing them over because, oh, they don't have a part here. Right now, there's a lot of them because of chips. And so they keep them there and they move them off. We don't have a facility here in town that, that's manufacturing these. So essentially we would be the distribution for, I'll call it Southwest Michigan or something like that.
Yep. And I don't have any problem with that. I just want to make sure that there won't be any indications that this is a business operating there. If they just want to store it, that seems fine, but I wouldn't want signs up or, them building a little hut building or something, that seems inappropriate, but just to store them there is perfectly fine with me, so.
Yeah, I don't want any of that stuff either.
Okay. And I'm sure Gil doesn't either, so I think we're all set.
And I can speak for Bill, no, he doesn't.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Question from a transportation segment. Are these being driven in by the car, or are they being brought in on a flatbed?
It'll
traffic
depend.
impact?
Yeah, most of them are going to be on a flatbed, but some of them will be driven in by a car as well.
Okay.
Where's the revenue projected to go? For airport, just general airport.
Any further questions? Have a motion, please.
I'll make the motion.
Or second,
Roll call.
Kurt Ardema,
Yes.
Dave Buskirk,
Yes.
Greg Hamley,
yes.
Mickey Miller,
Yes.
Cecile Bunch,
yes,
Eric Rankin,
Yes.
Mark Weiss,
Yes,
James Woodruff.
Yes. Right. Is there any unfinished business? Hearing none, is there any new business? Hearing none. The airport director's report.
Thank you, Eric. Okay, thanks. And everyone can see that. I'll put my glasses on so I can. All right. Good morning, everyone. Wanted to give a quick update on what's going on at the airport. As I like to do. Just click the space bar. There we go. As I like to do, I like to go through the get the people. Or you know what, just click on that box. Just like, okay, get your fingers on it. Just shrink apples. Shrink this.
We don't have all this trouble when Gil's here.
Okay, I like to start each one with our strategic plan information. Of course, we just met a month ago, so not a lot has happened, and yet a lot has happened. So I will go into some details on that. But our mission, our goals, our vision, let's just say we've had some opportunities to reinforce some of those this month with staff and showing facilities as well. So I'll go into some detail with that a little bit later. I did want to cover some air service information. We just got our air service numbers yesterday from last month from Delta, which so normally we're not ready this early in the month because they don't have to get us to us till the 10th, but they got us the information. So to share some of the information that we have, 7,500 plane passengers, which is of course a big improvement over August 2020, about 110% improvement, but that doesn't really, that's the asterisk for the rest of our lives that will be in there for every industry. But you can see that United wasn't even here in August of 2020 last year. Compared to 2019, though, we're down about 48%. So, which is nice compared to where we had budgeted there. We also had strong, I don't have the numbers here, I've already shared them with the board, but we had a strong June and July. July was very strong. Really the key there was we also had a nice improvement in the number of seats. For example, United was flying a 76-seater versus the 50-seater. So that was a nice improvement in the product. It's interesting because going ahead, I did a little forecast exercise looking to the end of the year, and we look to be about down 45 to 50% as I was looking at the number of seats that are projected for the rest of the year. But I don't hold much faith that the December projections for seats will hold as the airlines make their adjustments going forward. The good news is business travel's kind of picking up a little bit locally from what I'm getting anecdotally. So I'm a little excited about it. But I did want to take the chance to share a couple things that a report from Bloomberg, a survey, just kind of, there was some hope business travel would increase, but most companies are telling employees to stay close to home. In fact, a Bloomberg survey shows that 2/3 of companies will delay employees returning to the office into 2022, which actually I believe I read Stryker was doing that, but don't quote me on that. It might have been another company. The same survey shows 84% of companies plan to spend less on travel permanently. I bring that up not as a panic because there was a similar, I'll say, reaction to all this after September 11th, and a lot of that traffic came back. So it's my opinion that what you're getting is a kind of a bias of, we're in the middle of the event kind of thing here. And then even by 2024, Bloomberg forecast total business travel spending in the U.S. will be $200 billion less than it was in 2019. So from a survey standpoint, it looks like these things will, the impact will continue for, a few more years. Let's see, from air service standpoint, it kind of dovetails with some of our strategic efforts, but I thought this was an interesting read or note as I saw this. Amazon signs deal with U.S. Postal Service to move packages. So it says here, Amazon is on a spending spree to grow its shipping business and isn't content with only delivering products purchased on its own site. The company is now moving cargo for outside customers in its latest move to compete directly with FedEx and UPS. I say that only because as we work on our cargo portion of our strategic plan, it really says that there may be another third party that we can reach out to continue. Any questions on the air service?
Amazon currently services, the only air connections are in Detroit right now, Michigan, right?
Correct. that I know of,
No,
yes.
there's nothing on the side, Lansing, Grand Rapids.
Nothing that I'm aware of. Yes.
So and with the air service, with business being, predicted and surveyed to come back slower,
Mhm.
that gives us a good, reason to reach over and continue to look at and grow the leisure market. Because the studies for leisure are increasing
Yes,
travel.
right.
Okay.
Right. Yes, and that continues. I bring up the business, but, we continue to work with our air service consultant and some particular carriers. But again, it's a tough road to hoe. So, any other questions on the air service component?
Yeah, Craig, can you just summarize again the cargo opportunities or forecast or
Sure.
where we are?
I don't have anything. Yeah, I don't have anything specific to that. We hired a consulting firm, I believe at the June and May meeting, and they are working on their study right now. In fact, we're working with our two, I'll call them our two business groups, Southwest Michigan First and Battle Creek Unlimited, that they're working with them to try to gather information and some potential contacts that they can talk even more in place. But I don't have anything specific to our airport on any forecasts or anything like that.
Okay, so I recall that we approached this after we all saw that Pfizer was shipping out of Grand Rapids when they were distributing the jab, right?
Right. I mean, I'll put in my own belief that I think that the market can support air carrier, cargo service, regularly scheduled air cargo service. I think it's critical for us as an airport to do so, but more importantly, I think it's critical for the region. I know it's something that companies ask about, what kind of air cargo services in the area. And so it's something that we need to push through on and work with local communities to find out. And I hope they would respond by being honest and sharing that information with us, because there's nothing the airport can do. We don't ship anything, so we're
Right.
on those. So.
I think.
Okay, thank you.
And I think Pfizer was also using UPS, which ships out of Lansing.
Correct.
And I think I had read that, well, UPS and FedEx are running extra, but like an extra plane per day in and out of Lansing and Grand Rapids respectively, from FedEx, Grand Rapids, UPS,
Right.
Lansing. So, I mean, if you think, that's a 2 planes per day that could be here potentially. That's just one product shipping out of here.
That's right. Yes. So the work is to convince them that all three of those parties, that money could be saved by flying it in and out of here.
Yeah, if it's important enough to put on a plane instead of a truck,
Right.
then the hour drive time to each of those airports, you
Exactly.
think would be a value
Exactly.
to our local company.
Yes. I wanted to follow with some staff changes. The board knows that Amanda Wooden who's our Deputy Director of Finance and Administration, has been taken an opportunity to go down and fill in as one of the deputy administrators for the county. And that's through March 31st of this year. Next year, with the possibility that it could end earlier. It's all really dependent on how quickly the county hires the county administrator. This is a good move for Amanda. It's not necessarily ideal for the airport. The good news is Amanda is still available. I talked to her this morning, and it's very helpful. She's on the same email system, so any emails that somebody would send to her, she can automatically forward to us. We're working through it and seeing how best we can do. It's added some extra workload on me. The things that she was doing from a finance perspective. I got a crash course in our finance system, so I'm doing that. It's putting extra workload on Eric and Bill for things that they have to do that, and as well as Jessica. So we're making that work. We're 3 days into it, so I can't tell you too much on how that's working, but stay tuned for November. In the interest of transparency to you, I think this is a great opportunity for Amanda. I will say that I hope she goes down there and finds out that she misses the airport, wants to come down, come back. But at the same time, there's a very real possibility that she may be asked to stay down there. I mean, we all know Amanda's talented. She does a good job. So there's no reason for me to believe that she's going to do poorly in that capacity as well. So I'm mentally preparing for what those next steps may look like without Amanda, as I hope that she says, yeah, I need to come back to the airport. So I just want to let you guys know, I have made the commitment to her that should we move forward to, if we feel that we need to do something, because I mean, it's, the finance component is very important to this, the organization. If we feel we need to do something, she has first right of refusal to come back here. I really, I believe that she's a valued part of this team. So we're moving forward. It's given us a great opportunity. I mean, just as she has been, in the last week was going through things, last couple of weeks, I'm writing down SOPs on how to get things done, on processes. We've been talking about that so we can really document what's done and how to do it. So that way there, I always play the game as a leader of, having bench strength. As I told them, what during the discussion is we just don't have a bench. It's not even bench strength. We don't have a bench in that regard. So we're going to do everything we can do to make sure that we develop some bench strength during this 7-month period.
Craig, I have a question.
Sure.
Is this an opportunity or could we use in the interim an outside accounting firm to help us along with this?
Right now, I'm trying not to go that. I think if we needed to, we're in I would say definitely yes to that. If we were an independent airport authority, we were 100% responsible for all that we do. We're intertwined with the county, so there's county processes and things like that that are already being done by them in conjunction with Amanda here. So I'm trying to hold off on doing so, but I'm willing to pull the trigger quickly if we need to.
I think the county has an overall review, outside review of their stuff, and maybe if we use the same firm, they would have an advantage as to knowledge of
Sure. Yeah, that's I know the learning curve is big. The tough part is a lot of the things we're going to miss her on are the non-financial things. The financial is just processes. She showed me the approval processes and all this, and I had the opportunity to do those a couple of times since then. But I said non-financial is not necessarily the non-transactional, I should say, is the right way to put it. It's the independent review, but it's also from the non-financial. She handles all of our leases and a lot of the concession stuff. So that position is critical for those kinds of things. This van transport, this is something that she would have handled in conjunction with Eric. I spent the better part of the day yesterday on that. So this is where some of those things that I have to look at beyond that. So which kind of goes into kind of the strategic plan. I'm going to be working with Eric and Peter, our consultant, on, okay, what are some of these things that need to be pushed based on that? And I don't want to push them for too long, but how do we work to accommodate those types of things? Because I've got Eric working a ton on projects, as you guys can see through today's meeting, and we just want to make sure that we're on top of this thing. So I'm not the stubborn type, and I'm not I hate to use the stereotypical male who won't ask for directions. I'm the first one to pull over and pull out the map and ask for help. So yeah, you won't have to worry about it on that side. I'm just trying to limp a little bit so we can make it so Amanda can come back. Because that's the ideal situation, is that Amanda comes back into the position. Regards to other staff changes, I wanted to bring up Amanda, but I just wanted to share, we have a new airfield maintenance technician out there. Basically, one of our guys left earlier in the summer, and then Steve transferred over to be in maintenance into that position, which left his position open. This is going to be a musical chairs explanation. But then one of our gentlemen from operations is moving out to maintenance for that, which created his position to be open. And we were able to hire a new kid from right out of school from Western named Dylan Ratliff, excuse me. And then we have one other position open in ops because we lost a position, lost to a gentleman who moved to Texas. So we're currently recruiting, and Eric's actually had interviews on that, so we'll have one. So I want to give you guys an update on some staff moves. The good news is with all this, I just bring up that our Part 139 inspection is now complete. This is an odd 2 years, really. I mean, we didn't really have something last year, kind of was piecemeal, and then this year there was an on-site inspection in spring, and then a review of all the records in August. Kurt, our FAA certification inspector, we got our letter earlier this week that we passed the certification inspection, which is really good. And he also, the nice thing is he noted all the goods that we have, but he also had a nice list of some recommendations for the team. And what impresses me the most about this team, if I can just brag on the team a little bit, is in the face of recommendations, the response is, great, let's see how we can do it, versus, who do they think they are? So I really like that attitude toward that. And that, that was Part 139. It was, Kurt was kind enough, we walked around and did a walk around at the terminal grounds and, get some ideas on things. So I'm really pleased with the staff's attitude on that. With that, I don't have anything else unless, but I'm happy to take any questions people might have.
With the staffing, remind me, was it last meeting or 2 meetings ago that we approved a part-time finance position?
So yeah, as part of the budget, we had asked for, I want to say 20,000, but don't quote me on the number. But asked for the allocation so we could hire a part-time position in finance to help alleviate the transactional work, but also really from just looking at audits, control, your accounts payable and accounts receivable should be done by different people, right? So Amanda has put that in there. I supported it. Thanks, the board did it. What that does to kind of, I think where you might be going is, how does that impact our hiring for that? Well, so first, it wasn't going to happen until after the first year, just because for budget, and then, so given that would be January, we'll know a lot more about what we're doing with Amanda's position. She'll know a lot more. I mean, the county might hire somebody this month, for that and figure it all out. So I'm just going to delay that until we have more information. So it would have been January at the earliest. Now it'll be April-ish at the latest.
Okay.
Anything else? Yield back the balance of my time.
Attempt to fill the balance of your time.
Hey, just maybe a question, Craig, or going back to the cargo discussion. I guess you could let them know that we're storing Amazon vans at the airport, so maybe they want to put in a Amazon cargo terminal.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Hopefully I can use that. Certainly have a bunch of pictures of that.
Ready to load them up when the airplane pulls in.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks.
Member time.
Want me to start?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, Craig mentioned we had a chance to walk with Craig and Eric, the terminal last week. It was good to do that, and some good ideas we got right in. So appreciate the time from both of them to do that. I was wondering about the SCAS. I should ask you this when you're up there. So
Sure.
sorry, Craig. This is a timeline. What's our window of time to do something?
Yeah, well, I can give you a quick update. Jim is signing the grant for us right today
Okay.
after this meeting.
Right.
So there really is, there's no official time frame that something has to be done. I'll give you an example. I closed our 2012 grant my first couple months here. So that was 8 years after the fact. And it was at that point, DOT and somebody said it's time to close it. We don't have that. So we're going to begin work on really working with hopefully American would be interested in Charlotte immediately after the grant is signed, and Monday with our air service consultant, and then a follow-up meeting because we have support from Southwest Michigan First, Discover Kalamazoo, and Limited on this grant. And so I need to get them in line. What does that support mean? What does it entail from them that I need further? So, the work begins now. I will say that I don't anticipate anything. Let's assume that everything works, the business, the model works great and all that. I wouldn't anticipate much because Charlotte as a hub isn't ready to maybe the runway infrastructure, runway taxiway infrastructure is there, but the terminal infrastructure still needs further growth. I don't know if anybody's flown through Charlotte in the last couple of years. It is a very busy terminal that's kind of piecemeal together in the old style, but they're doing I'm going to call it $1 billion remodification on the terminal. So it'll be a couple of years.
Even with COVID, the demand is such at Charlottesville that they got capacity constraints, or maybe they're not thinking if COVID turns, they're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, they're
operation.
thinking more than,
Yeah.
that hub, the infrastructure from the ground infrastructure, and about 1,100 flights a day, they're doing about 700 there.
Yeah. Okay.
And I say 700, that's pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I should say that.
Right. Okay. And then I appreciate the update on that. And then just to emphasize again, Nikki's point about the leisure shift and the opportunities there. I know you're focused on it, but one thing that never really crosses my mind all that much is that people do come up here for leisure in the summer too, where they're visiting the lakeshore towns and using the airports, and that we kind of maybe view because we live here, we use this airport to go somewhere else, and businesses use it to take people in here for business, but there are people that come here for leisure to visit the lakes and other areas in the summertime. So maybe we've got Discover Kalamazoo, Southwest Michigan First, BCU. I don't know if there's some group out on the lake shore that maybe could be part of that conversation too. But they also, to get people from outside of the region to their communities, they need air access, and we're one of those options to get people in here. So just one thought of, I don't know how the Chamber of Commerce or Economic Development groups necessarily work out there, how aligned they are, but I would think St. Joe up to through probably Holland area would be groups maybe talk to. And Nikki, you might have some more feedback on it too.
Yeah, I would go up to Grand Haven. Grand Haven tends to have a bigger, and Holland tend to have bigger marketing budgets.
South Haven would be great, but I'm not sure about their marketing budget.
I'd say Joe probably linked to South Bend. pretty close.
Well, a lot of them depend on Pure Michigan.
Yeah, that would be the thing, would be my thought is to work with Pure Michigan.
Yeah. But it's just kind of flipping that mindset a little bit to leisure, thinking of it not necessarily as us, as community members here going places, which is part of the package, but there's also people that do come here. Probably not in February, March, but in the summertime.
Right.
Yeah, thanks. Sure.
Cecile, anything?
I just had a question about the on-site ground transportation status,
Yes.
whether we have a vendor or.
We do not have a vendor, and it's hard to find a vendor right now. I was actually talking to your former your counterpart over at Stryker yesterday, your former counterpart, Gigi,
Yep.
about the same topic. And she's actually putting me in touch with some folks that are outside the region to try to attract. It's been difficult. We put an RFQ out in November. We got 0 responses.
Wow.
Just nobody in the area that's doing it, or wants to take the risk to the level of having a place at the airport.
Yeah. What are there services that we're recommending for people who are coming in?
Well, we have a list of ground transportation providers on our website.
Oh, we do. Okay.
Yes. And they're, I'll admit that they're mostly taxi operators because we don't know who all these folks are. And I can tell you, I have not been contacted by anybody to be added to that list. So, and obviously Uber and Lyft are operating, but certainly at a much smaller capacity than they were.
Yeah. Okay.
Might be interesting to think about talking with Sean McBride at Metro about, Metro has on-demand services with some of their van service. I don't know if there's some sort of a mechanism as a short-term kind of plug the gap for now option of maybe working with them while capacity is a little bit lower for bus service as well.
The tough part is, we provide a place where they can do business and be picked up. What they need to do is make sure they have the agreements with the businesses who want that service. And that's where, that might be a good opportunity for that. I just don't know how that works from that or what the demand is on that. I mean, quite honestly, we could give it for free down there, and I don't know if that will change the amount of people that are interested in serving.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking Metro's got some smaller vehicles if they've got staff challenges though right now, and that might be an issue. But if Metro has, it's another county linked entity that maybe the vehicle was based here, you have to have a driver based here, but maybe there's some peak times when some flights are coming in where that type of arrangement might make sense to have.
Sure.
Maybe a van parking and bring us businesses.
Yeah.
As a filler, maybe not long term, but as a filler.
Right.
He's sort of an outside the box thinker too, so.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it'd be great. I certainly would be willing to work with anybody. But at the same time, I've got to focus on, airports.
Oh, yeah, I know, I don't, yeah.
They got to do the business part of it, so.
Right.
David, anything? If you're talking, David, we can't hear
No, I've got nothing.
you. Eric?
Nothing today.
Greg?
Hey, so maybe 2 things and just to comment on the ground transportation option, at least from a Stryker perspective, we had our first face-to-face board meeting back beginning of August. And yeah, we did have to go outside, obviously the Kalamazoo area. I think we pulled service out of the Grand Rapids area. So they did a great job, but that was the closest option for us. So CO, I don't know if that's what you're looking for ideally, but that's where we pulled it from. And if you want that info, I can pass that along as well.
Yeah.
Only two things I had, which is again, nice to see again coming up. We haven't done in a while is there's a couple of honor flights coming up in Kalamazoo. I believe the first one is on Saturday, the 18th of September. And I believe it's Americans doing that one. And then they've got another one coming up in October, I think on the 9th. And again, I think American is doing that one as well. So it's nice to see those returning great service to our veterans, take them to DC for the day and show them around town. So other than that, that's all I've got.
Art,
No comment, no, nothing to report. Okay.
Nikki,
I've been traveling more lately and using Kalamazoo. Definitely some issues with Delta dropping the Minneapolis flight for myself and other travelers. But when I flew last week, I noticed there was an issue with the drinking fountains. Emailed Craig about it. He got back to me right away, letting me know there had been a water main break. Was still a little perplexed when I came back the next week and it was still broke up, but I saw today it's open. I had just heard, mumblings around other flyers that, they had wanted to fill up their water bottles, but they ended up going to the concession stand, which was fine. But there's definitely been more interest in flying locally than even going over to the Detroit area with travelers as they come back post-pandemic. So I've been able to position the Kalamazoo Airport fairly well for most destinations. Some destinations still having to go out of Grand Rapids because it would lead to like 3 flights to get to Jamaica. Or as Delta's been liking to put my clients on 5 to 6 flights to get to Hawaii out of Kalamazoo. But it's been something that people are more interested in now than before. Before I would mention, hey, let's look at Kalamazoo options. They're like, oh, no, it's gonna be too expensive. And now their mindset has completely changed to, yeah, I'd like to fly local, I'd like to fly smaller, and not have to go through bigger crowds in bigger cities.
anybody else? Anything else? I have nothing. So the next meeting is November 18th. We are adjourned.